In 1.4.5, they added a happiness meter that tells you exactly how much happiness affects your prices. It quantifies the price multiplier when buying items, ranging from 75%, which is a 25% discount, to 150%, which is the 50% markup. The inverse is then used when selling, so it would range from 33% more proceeds at a 75% price multiplier to 33% less proceeds at a 150% price modifier. Now, obviously this is helpful for knowing how good of a deal you're getting, and it's certainly better than the old system of just seeing the prices only, but it still doesn't tell you how this modifier is actually computed or how you got there. We all know that putting NPCs that like and love each other together is good, and putting them in biomes they like or love is good, but how do those actually weigh into the calculation? First, there's the spacing bonus. If there are no more than 2 other NPCs within 25 tiles and no more than 3 other NPCs within 120 tiles, then the NPC gets slightly happier as they aren't overcrowded, dropping their price multiplier to 95%. Remember, a lower multiplier is better, as that lowers our buy prices and then raises our sell prices. In isolation, this is effectively a 5% discount on buy prices and a 5% boost to sell prices. Of course, this also goes in the other way in terms of spacing, or, well, overcrowding. For every NPC above the third, you receive a penalty of 105%. So basically, to summarize, if you just have the one NPC there, you have a spacing price modifier of 95%. Add up to 2 more NPCs nearby to make a town, and you can still keep that 95% spacing bonus. Add a 4th NPC though, and suddenly you lose that spacing bonus, but the overcrowding penalty doesn't hit in yet. After that though, well, the crowding penalty really hits. This is why you'll almost always see people make towns with 3 NPCs in each of them. It's the optimal configuration for NPC happiness, as it nets you the highest density, while still keeping the spacing bonus. After the spending bonus, there's the meat and potatoes of happiness, living preferences. Living next to a loved NPC has a price multiplier of 88%, a massive amount. That's around 12% off both ways, just for placement. Meanwhile, each liked NPC has a 94% modifier, a little bit more than the spacing bonus, and definitely not insignificant. Meanwhile, disliked and hated NPCs basically do the same thing, but in reverse, an 106% and 112% penalty respectively. Then, biome preferences are computed the same as NPCs, as they share the same modifiers. These stack with the previous spacing modifiers and themselves multiplicatively, not additively. So if you have a 95% spacing modifier, an 88% loved NPC, and an 84% liked biome, your final multiplier is just them multiplied together, so 78.584%, rounded to 79%. This makes the calculations deviate a little bit from just adding the percentages up in your head, which is a little counterintuitive, but it's nothing big. Just keep that in mind if you're calculating happiness. And finally, after that, there are a few specialty modifiers and things to note. First, splashing an NPC with a love potion will cause them to add a price modifier of 90%. This is almost as good as a loved NPC or biome, although the fact Love Struck only lasts for 30 seconds still makes this quite expensive and impractical. Second, if an NPC is homeless, far away from their house, such as being teleported by a statue, or in a dungeon, corruption, or crimson biome, they will automatically have the worst price modifier of 150%. So please avoid these scenarios, especially the one with the statue. Teleporting them to a farm, for instance, could really cut into profits, even if it is convenient. Third, the princess is a special case in terms of happiness. She is liked by all NPCs and loves all NPCs, but she also gets incredibly lonely. If she doesn't have at least 2 neighbors, she'll suffer the same penalty as a homeless NPC, setting her price modifier to 150%. And lastly, you should know that on Don't Dig Up and Get Fixed Boy, happiness is completely disabled, so you don't have to worry about this at all on that seed. On one hand, it's convenient, but on the other hand, it does make things genuinely a whole lot more expensive. Also, do note that there's a limit of 75% on the positive end of the happiness scale, so you should know what specifically it takes to reach max happiness. First of all, you need a love to reach max happiness. A love and 2 likes, typically a biome and an NPC, combined with the spacing bonus is enough to hit max happiness. For example, the Goblin Tinker with the mechanic in the caverns. If an NPC doesn't have a love though, then it is impossible to reach max happiness, sadly. 3 likes, a biome and 2 NPCs, plus a spacing bonus is enough for a 79% price modifier, just shy of the max. 4 likes, would get you a 78% price modifier, but this kills the spacing bonus, so it's generally not worth it. You could technically reach max happiness with the love potion, but once again, that's very short in duration, so this would only be practical in the nichest of scenarios. So, in summary, there are 3 things. First, a spacing bonus, which applies if you have 3 or less NPCs together, or an overcrowding penalty if you have 5 or more NPCs together. Then there are the living preferences, bonuses, and penalties, which are 88 and 94% for loved and liked circumstances, and 106 and 112% for disliked and hated circumstances. Multiply these all together. Lastly, there are specialty cases like the love potion, princess, and secret seeds. And finally, you need 1 love and 2 likes to max happiness, or 3 to 4 likes to get close without a love. That's all. Hopefully this was useful for you in understanding happiness. It's an important, yet kind of opaque mechanic. If you want to see more videos like this, here's a similar video of mine going over melee speed and its weird mechanics and cutoffs. Either way though, thank you for watching, and good day, and goodbye. See you next week.